Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the show. We've got our mate Marcus Glen on tonight. Obviously, the mighty Paul Rimmer, and he wants to talk about the US. The US. He wants to talk about the big battle. He wants to talk about the battle of the righteous and the battle of the woke. We talked about it the other week. The thing that wound me up about everything was the way they was treating Trump in the media, the lies they said, the way they spin things. That's what gets me about the thing. But Paul, come on, what do you think?
Well, it's of incredible significance, isn't it? Who's going to win this? Now, Kamala Harris, to me, she's not a politician. She's a total fake. She can't handle questions. She can't make speeches. Every time she has a rally, she says exactly the same speech. It's all written. She just reads it out from the teleprompter. But it's not really about her. It's about the Democrat machine, which is a formidable machine, which is financed to the tune of $1,000 million for this election. The amount of money behind Kamala Harris is just incredible. And yet she has very little genuine popular support. It's become a very strange election because it's like almost like the feminists have rallied behind her. Everything now seems to be these women. But they're not normal women as we know them. They're very strange sort of feminazi types. Very joyless. Laughs all the time, Kamala Harris, cackling Kamala. But her following is like these hard-nosed feminist types. And so I saw a meeting yesterday with Liz Cheney, who's another boring woman, and it was so tedious. It was like going to the dentist, you know. It's like getting your teeth taken out, just being there. And yet Trump has come as the exact opposite. He's playing a great game. He's coming across all folksy. He's embracing all the different communities. He's got incredible support from the blacks, from the Hispanics, from the white working class, from the white middle class. And he seems to have created this feel-good factor around himself, which has really attracted a big constituency. And, of course, he's got a few decent allies. Elon Musk, the richest man on the planet, has gone all in for Trump. It's incredible to watch how committed he is. And then you've got Bobby Kennedy, whose name is like, you know, it's stellar, isn't it? It's the star name of American politics. Bobby Kennedy's backing him. Tucker Carlson. I think his vice president, J.D. Vance, has done a great job so far. He's brilliant with the media. So Trump's got a great team behind him. He's got momentum. He's chipping away at the Democrat constituency day after day. He's building up his vote. There's 7 key swing seats, and Trump is ahead in 6 of them. So all being equal, you'd expect him to win this election and save the Western world from wokeism. But all things aren't equal. We know the Democrats are going to cheat. We don't know the scale of the cheating. They don't know whether it's going to be based on computers or on phony ballots. Or, I mean, what they've done so far is enfranchise a huge block of illegal immigrants. They've actually been given a vote in this election. And they're hoping they can swing some states. But Democrats have got a formidable constituency. They, like in Britain, like the Labour Party, they've got the public sector unions behind them. They've got the liberal middle class behind them. They've got the feminist movement. And they all seem to rally around this one key issue of abortion. Killing unborn babies or preborn babies. It seems to be a total fascination with these people. It's like a form of witchcraft watching them. The main focus is their right to kill unborn children. I mean, when we're talking about health issues here, we're talking about living children in the womb. Their right to kill these children. And at what age, you know, not 4 months, not 5 months, 6 months, right up to the pregnancy. It's effectively murder. And so they focused on this issue and they mobilized a female constituency around this issue. And it's so seedy and it's so depraved, you know. And it shows you how much America has declined. That the land of the free, the city on the hill, the light of the world has now become so dark that the main issues are promoting sodomy, promoting the murder of unborn children, promoting the breakup of the family and women's rights and feminism. And it's gruesome to watch. I mean, Trump represents the last hope of the West, because all these issues that the Democrats are so energized by are very, very destructive for Western civilization. And we'll see the emergence, as we're seeing now. There's a big conference in Kazan in Russia of the BRICS, Russia, China, India, the Muslim world. If the West goes down this trajectory that Kamala Harris is offering, it'll be the road to disaster and decline and ultimately our fall. But it'll be a great opportunity for the people of the East. What do you think, Marcus?
I think it's the people versus the deep state. Personally, myself, I generally believe that the MAGA movement are a bit like us in the UK with Reform and yourselves all over, even the Tommy Robinson movement. I think it's more than just about Donald Trump himself, right? This is about the West saving itself. Like you said, that degeneracy and horrible things are now coming to fruition and being normalized. And we see the collapse of society. We see the collapse of marriage. You know, we see a lot of single parent homes. And this is something that the Democrats support because they like people to rely on the socialist state, don't they? They want illegal immigrants, like you say, like the Labour Party does, because that gives them unlimited votes, doesn't it? It means more and more people are going to vote for them, and then the indigenous people will become a minority within their ancestral homeland, and they will forever get into power. That's my view on it.
Yeah, definitely. And a couple of incidents I want to point out. Some hecklers said, Christ is king. And then she said, you're at the wrong rally. Go to the smaller rally down the way. And then the next day she's at a Catholic gathering. And, and you can hear her in her speech. She don't believe anything. She's not sincere or anything like that. I think she's because she's the woke side of going for her. I think she just hates she probably doesn't like religion and or whatever. But no, there's been several things, and like Paul said, she talks off one of them word things, and there's nothing. It's all scripted for her. She can't come off the cuff, and when you see Donald Trump, he comes off the cuff every time. He doesn't read a script. But like I said, she's just really too woke for me. And that she's not a president. She hasn't got the capability, and she's a box ticker. We talked about this the other week. She's black. She's a woman. Box ticking. And that's what's going to.
She's not black, John. She's not black. She's Indian.
Yes, you don't even know what she.
She's predominantly Indian, and her mother was a member of the Brahmin caste in India. But it's not really about Kamala Harris. What they've tried to do, the Democrats, is deflect that and make it all into an anti-Trump thing. And they've tried, constantly. I mean, this has been the story of Trump since 2016 to demonize Trump. And but I think Trump has overcome it. I think not with the hardline feminists and so on, but with the ordinary Americans, I think he's getting a degree of acceptability now that he's never had in the past. I mean, I think that moment in Butler in Pennsylvania when he was nearly assassinated, obviously an amazing moment, an iconic moment. I think that turned a lot of people to be sympathetic towards Donald Trump and to realize the sacrifices he's made. I mean, he is a unique individual. I've never known anyone to take this much flack for so long at such an intensity. I mean, this lawfare that Norm Eisen and the Democrat lawyers, the deep state, as Marcus called it, this lawfare that they launched against Trump, charge after charge, all complete nonsense, all fabricated. But they tied Trump up. They tied him up in court cases. They tried to bankrupt him over real estate in New York, which was totally fictitious, a complete nonsense charge. They tried to rubbish his reputation with strange women saying they'd been raped by him, a total, obviously transparent fiction. But and then these corrupt judges who were finding him guilty. It was very bizarre, the whole thing. And but he overcome that. And he wasn't meant to overcome it. I mean, Jack Smith had been given a brief by the White House to actually take him down. Jack Smith had the full backing of the Attorney General of America, Merlin Garland. And, you know, it was intended to put Trump in prison, get him out the way. They realized the threat Trump has always been to the deep state, to the establishment, to the globalist Zionist lobby. Trump is too popular. He connects with the American people. He's got the X factor. He's got this gift. And you can't underestimate the role of charisma in politics. If someone's got charisma, it makes a big difference, especially when they haven't got the state and the media behind them. The media is totally controlled by the Democrats and is cheering on Kamala and trying to destroy Trump at every turn. This is why Elon Musk has been so liberating, because through X, which is the public square really now, he gave Trump a platform to the world. I don't think Trump has used X effectively because he's got his own one, hasn't he? He's got what is it, Truth Social or something. I think if he's got a big investment in that. He's wanted to make it work. I think he could have used Trump X more effectively, but Elon Musk has used X very effectively, and it's been really exhilarating to be able to follow the nitty gritty, the day by day sort of campaigning in America through X. You know, it's like we're almost involved in this race ourselves, although we're across the Atlantic. And of course, we're going to have to face the fact that this side of the Atlantic, we've got huge issues emerging now with this Labour government. They've created the same as the Democrats, an open border immigration policy. And it's a multi-million immigration wave that we're facing in this country. And it's causing disaster. I mean, I saw yesterday that Yvette Cooper has gone into our strategic reserve funds to finance new hotel places for these boat people and other asylum seekers. It's costing an arm and a leg. And this Labour government, go on, John.
What do you think of Labour sending 100 activists to go campaigning in America? What do you think about that?
Well, it's a needle in a haystack, isn't it? I mean, it's huge campaigns right across America involving tens of millions of people. 15 million people have already voted. Ultimately, 150 million people are going to vote. I don't think Labour activists will connect with the American people. Obviously, it's part of them mobilise their constituency, get their people out. But the huge problem for America is the black men now in America, they've lost faith in the Democrats, and that's a huge constituency which is gone. Marcus, how do you see the final result of this election?
I worry about it, if I'm being honest, because I think the people are with Trump. I don't doubt that, but I've got to be honest with you, boy, and maybe I'm going to ask you a question. Do you truly believe that the assassination attempts were actually by lone wolves, or do you think that was by the deep state? Because I have no doubt it was from the deep state that they were trying to take him out of this race, because they can't defeat him at the ballot box, and this is why they have to cheat like they did last time round.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first assassination attempt, how did he get so close to Trump in broad daylight? Climbed up a ladder. You know, he took time. He positioned himself on the roof, got his rifle out, took aim. He only fired back once he'd fired that shot. He was meant to take out Trump. I think I'm right in saying Biden was still president at the time. And this was really Biden's last shot. Because Biden had to get rid of Trump if he had any hope winning the presidential election. Once that shot missed, Kamala Harris was brought in. I think that's the truth. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who took the shot at Trump, he had connections with BlackRock. He visited Washington, D.C. several times. He'd been connected with agents in Europe. He was put in place to do that.
Wow. It wouldn't surprise me, Paul. Nothing surprised me at this point. And this is why they're trying to go after X. Like you said, there's now a public square where the people can have a conversation, but the left doesn't like it, do they? Because they are not confident in their views. That's why they have to go after people in the National Housing Party, us in Reform, right? They have to go after us because they cannot debate with our ideas, because that's the reason why they have to import so many illegal immigrants, and they want to let everyone over the Mexican border. They don't care where they come from. They don't care if they're sex offenders. They don't care if they're murderers. These people will let anybody in at the cost of the American taxpayer, even if it means young, innocent American little girls, like in the past, have been murdered by these people. And the establishment will never cover it. But guess who will cover it? Donald Trump. And that's what they're afraid of, because he points out every bit of, hypocrisy they have, all the flaws with their doctrine, and they don't like it. And that's why they're trying to kill him. And I'll pass it back to John.
I think that the attempts on his life have absolutely raised his profile. And what people have seen is the hypocrisy behind the Democrats and everyone else. And, he's right to point out, and I've seen a lot of stuff where, like, Democrats saying that he's a threat and these kind of words. And this is why people go and do stuff, because he said these kind of words. They shouldn't be allowed. You know what I mean? Just like that Ricky Jones going like that, he better get 10 fucking years, that guy. And I'm going to his court case. But we have to fight back against this. Trump's fought back against it well. He's kept his cool. He started his own media thing up. He's carried on. He hasn't stopped him. He's still doing the same things. He hasn't gone wild because there's been an attempt on him. He's just called them out for the hypocrites that they are, the Democrats and the left. It's just unbelievable, and they just get away with it. And it's got to be
I think
stopped.
he got a lot of sympathy from that, John.
Definitely.
I think that assassination attempt, it changed a lot of people's opinion of Trump. And the fact that, a guy was killed, wasn't he? What was the guy, Corey, was it? Who was shot, the fireman nearby, and there was another 4 people seriously injured. I mean, there was blood on Trump's face and he went down. I mean, it's a very, very dangerous moment. And he got up, and how would he respond? 3 famous words: fight, fight, fight. It was, you saw his heart there. You saw the inner man. You saw the real conviction that Trump's got. I mean, to me, it's amazing. Trump has achieved since 2016. We're talking about more than 8 years of constant campaigning, of being a day after day involved in intense situations, which I think would have destroyed any other man, especially after 2020. I thought that was the end of Trump. The fact that he's bounced back so successfully, it's supernatural. It's something, it's unique. I mean, there's a guy called Grover Cleveland who actually, he lost his second election against Benjamin Harrison in the 1880s. He won re-election in 1893. He's the only American president to do that, to be a president, lose the office, and then regain the office. And he was a Bourbon Democrat at the time, he was called. But he didn't face the sort of opposition that Trump's faced, the sort of difficulties Trump's faced. It's obviously it's incredibly intense now with the media. But there are big issues underlying in this campaign. And an issue we haven't touched so far, I mean, we talked about immigration. For a lot of people, that's the number one issue. I mean, the scale of it in America. Crime is another massive issue, especially in the cities. But the third thing is the Ukraine. And I think the Ukraine is really the key to this whole election, because the deep state, the politicians, they've engineered this amazing racket in the Ukraine, which is so far this year alone claimed $24 billion. Just think of that figure, $24,000 million. This is what America is giving Ukraine. We're giving a lot of money into the Ukraine now. The Labour Party, which says we've got a massive black hole in the public finances and there's no money, is promising billions to the Ukraine by the day. And Ukraine is, it's a crazy war. It's a totally unnecessary war over there. As Trump said, as soon as I get elected, it's over. But these people don't want it to be over. They believe in perpetual warfare. They believe in endless wars. Why? Because they can vote money in aid. Israel has received 11,000 million this year, 11 billion. The Ukraine, 24 billion. And the politicians get kickbacks on this. So all these senators and people at the top in the cabinet in the USA and the president, the vice president, they all leave office with like $200, $300, $400, $500 million in their bank accounts. All they've been is like two-bit politicians. These are all kickbacks, not only from overseas, but from all the armaments companies. The armaments companies are in on it. BlackRock are in on it. It's really just fleecing the taxpayer. COVID was the same. COVID fleeced the taxpayer. I was going to say, it's over, because it's not sustainable in the long term. America is effectively bankrupt. America is in debt to an incredible degree. I think it's $30-odd trillion. And yet they still just keep throwing money at these endless wars. And so a lot of people this is why there's so much money behind Kamala Harris, because there's so much money being made out of this war. So it's a racket. And there's so many people are in on the racket, just as they're in on the racket of the public sector, like they're on the racket in this country, in the NHS and the civil service and the education system. They're all rackets to milk the taxpayer. The service they provided has gone through the floor. Education country now is pathetic. The NHS, the National Homicide Service, the civil service is actually destroying this country, not defending it. So all these rackets out there, they're all tied to the deep state. They're all tied to this globalist Zionist elite, which controls companies like BlackRock and Vanguard. And it's all about taking money off the taxpayers, all through debt, and putting it into their own pockets. So, when it comes to money, when it comes to big money, people get very worked up. They won't let it go easily. And that's why they've tried to assassinate Trump twice. And they may actually, he's got huge protection at the moment, but I wouldn't put it past another assassination attempt. Marcus?
I completely agree with you. I do think there is a globalist elite involved in this, but I don't necessarily, think it's always to do with outsiders. I think this struggle that we are fighting is actually internal inside the UK and inside of the US. I completely agree with you when it comes to foreign aid, by the way. I think we should put our own people first, and that's the same in America as it is over here. I don't care what country it is, whether it's Israel or whether it's, giving money to Palestine, whether it's giving money to Ukraine. I think people have had enough of it, because a lot of the time, like Iraq, like Afghanistan, these are always the elite who push for these wars. And it's always the working class men who have to go fight to die for the politicians, isn't it? And we all know who was funding Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. A lot of people who she would have gave contracts to when she was in office were offering her money to her campaign. Money talks, doesn't it? Like you said. But I think the American people are waking up. I think they're more woken up than they were in 2016. So this could go either way, but it just really depends on if the Democrats are going to try to cheat the elections like they did last time. I truly do believe Trump won the 2020 election. So I'll pass it back to one of you two. I don't know what you think about that, but I think the last election was stolen from him, personally, myself.
Well, even though they denied that there was election interference, there is in America, that they're lying, the BBC, everybody. There is nothing. There's been election interference in America for years. There's countless cases you can look online. And when I mean election interference, I don't just mean like telling someone to vote for. I mean, big interference where boxes of votes are tampered with and all that lot. And I would not put it past the left, by the way they do everything else, the way they lie, the way they get everyone against you, the way they try to cancel you and say things, that they don't do election fraud. And you know, it's an issue over here, but we've just got to be on top of it and have our noggins on. And I've done that in elections already, called out misprocedures and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely reckon that that last election was rigged somewhere, however it were. And it's just, I mean, it's just a way, though, that what gets me over everything, you can, assassination attempts, this and the other, just the way he's treated as a human being off these left people. Now, we want them running our country. Scary times. Scary times. Like, you know, the average so-called right-winger is supposed to be more authoritarian. And this is what they say. This is what they say. But the left, no, there's none of that in the left. They're they're anarchists, aren't they, the left? And they'll fight and just tear things down. And it's a really scary thought that we've come to this point in the world where it's like that, them against us. And it's just really dangerous. But no, I do think he'll win. I talked, last time we was on TikTok, and an American come on, a left-leaning American, and he's got a good profile on TikTok. And he admitted, he said, look, you know, like, I'm a Harris supporter, but Trump's going to win. That's what he said. He said he's been into the elections for the past 20-odd years, and he examines the polls, and he's been doing it all the time. And even though he's not a Trump supporter, he thinks Trump will win. He brought up several points that we've all talked about today, including how they tried to cancel him and stuff like that. But that's what he said. And there's a few said that. Any who said different, they're just lunatics. And there was a lot of... Go on.
Well, I mean, the phrase the Republicans are using is it's too big to rig. So Trump is trying to broaden his support. I mean, he's campaigned in California. He's done a lot of stuff in New York. He's hoping that Virginia, New York, California, he'll have a bigger presence there. And this will allow him to broaden his support. Because if the Democrats can narrow his lead down to a few states, they can rig it in these states. They have the governorship of Pennsylvania. They have the governorship of Michigan. They have the governorship of Wisconsin. This is the left. And they'll use that to manipulate the vote in many different ways. So Trump it's got to be too big to rig, because they definitely will try and rig it. I mean, if the left, as we said, they stand for degeneracy. You know, their big issue is the killing of unborn children. I mean, if you're prepared to do that, you're prepared to do anything. These people have no moral compass. Obviously, John talked about authoritarianism. The left, you know, it's left-wing authoritarianism is the norm now. They are the bully boys now. They love to get power. Not face to face. I mean, you meet lefties and the wimps, you know, but they'll use the power of the state to intimidate anyone who opposes them. I mean, the police force, we've seen the police force in London, how woke that's become. But not only the police force, the judiciary. We're seeing all these terrible sentences for people who simply were there at these protests about the killing of the 3 girls in Southport. And this is because the judiciary, the judges, are also controlled by the left. The left love to take control of the state and then use the state against the people. It's the old communist sort of way of doing things, and that's the process they like. And so they control a lot of state power in America. The problem for them in America is the Constitution, which divided powers. So they don't control the Supreme Court. That's been the Achilles heel of the Biden administration. The Supreme Court undermined their attempts to put Trump in prison. The Supreme Court has blocked some of their most radical agendas and has called them to account. And of course, as well as the presidential election in America, there'll be elections for the Congress, for the Senate and the House. And these are crucial. Now, the Republicans of battling hard in state after state. They need to get control of the Senate and the House, and then they can reverse a lot of the Democrat agenda. Because, okay, we're only, I don't know, 9-10 days off now. 9-10 days off the election. So it's going to be, what happens after that. But yeah, someone just putting something up here about Peter Lynch, the guy who's died in prison. We don't know the full circumstances of his death. He got 2 years for having a poster pointing the finger at the deep state in Britain outside the hostels in Rotherham. He was a heroic man. He was a noble man, and now he was sent to prison for 2.5 years for nothing. And I heard rumors that like Muslim gangs in prison had threatened him and would intimidate, making his life hell. And he felt under incredible pressure. And now they're saying he committed suicide. He hung himself. Very, very tragic. Rest in peace, Peter. It was very, very tragic. This is what the states are like. I mean, I've been arrested 3 times. I've been thrown in police station cells, not in prison cells, because I've always won my cases. That 3 court case put you under pressure. You've got to box clever. You got to be careful how you challenge the establishment. You've got to make sure that you're on solid ground. Because, I mean, I wouldn't like to go, as I said earlier, the judges they have now, I wouldn't like to go up against them. John, what do you think?
No, I know, scary judges. Peter Lynch, yeah, it's there's some other videos coming out of him from the weeks before Southport, the coming up to the site, and he's got his banner out, and there's nothing wrong with his banner. He said a few choice words to the police, which is, I mean, everybody says choice words to the police, and I bet there's been a lot worse said than what he's ever said. And he was a granddad. And when you look at some of the other videos, you can hear in his voice that he's worried about his family. He's not there hateful or anything. He talks well, and he's worried about his family in the UK. And I'm going to go down to London for Ricky Jones's court case. He better get sent down. But no, we've not got to forget Peter Lynch. And I'm guessing this Saturday, a lot of people are going to have T-shirts with Peter Lynch on. And what we'll do, we will say a prayer for him tomorrow and his family in the Bible class. But yeah, we've got to be careful. They're coming after us. Look what they did with Trump and stuff like that. Just really winds me up the way they've treated him. All these felons he's supposed to have are all coming off now. And there were people on TikTok, he's 34 felons, you're not going to vote for him, he's a rapist. Well, he isn't a rapist. And he hasn't committed any crimes. You've just tried fitting him up like they do. And it's just ridiculous. I don't know how Americans aren't unhappy with the political system when they see what they've done to Trump and anyone who disagrees with them. And, I just want to say as well, all them stars before he became president, all them black people, all them woke people licking his fucking ass. And then as soon as he comes up, he wants to go for president and says a couple of things now. They're all putting him down. What hypocrites? What hypocrites are worse? There isn't many stars I can say aren't hypocrites. 99% of them are hypocrites. And, it's another thing to look out for. We don't need these people in our lives. We don't need Taylor Swift. We don't need any of these American celebrities. We don't need them. We don't need any of our celebrities. Let's focus on ourselves. Our celebrities are all woke, paid off, all under the thumb of something or other, and we don't need them. We should focus on ourselves. And hopefully going forward, we will do things like that. There is more transparency in elections in the UK, and people will be pushing for more transparency across the world, especially in America. So we just got to keep fighting and keep pushing for it. And that's what I'm going to do as a local council candidate. I will push for this transparency. But just remember, guys, look what they did to him and look what they do to us. Look what they've done to Tommy. Look what they've done to anybody who speaks out. Well, most of the people who speak out, some, you know, Odysee, no one says anything about him, and he still goes on television. And he's like, he speaks exactly the same as Tommy Robinson. It's unbelievable. But that's the hypocrisy of the woke system we have here. We need to bring it down. But that's why we should vote nationalising party, vote differently. Let's get other politicians in. I don't care who they are, George Galloway, Nigel Farage, whoever, but we get people in who are opposite of the people we're in now. But yeah, over to you, Marcus. I've just got to check on my mum. I can hear her morning.
No worries, mate. So I think the British state has blood on their hands because of this poor man who's obviously took in his life from what we know so far. I would urge everyone that I know as someone who's going to be a reform candidate. I can't really endorse Tommy Robinson, but all I can say is I don't know that much about him, but I would encourage people to go to that demo just to kind of show your frustration with the British establishment as it currently is. I think we, like the Americans, we have to look at all forms of ways of fighting back. I think some of it is protesting. I think some of it is, you know, parties like the National Housing Party, Reform, whatever kind of party you want to join, right? Just please get involved and do your part. Just vote differently. You don't have to be an out-and-out patriot, out-and-out nationalist. But if we do not stand up now, there will be more people in his position who will take their lives or the government will try to get rid of. I think personally, you know, the government would be happy if people like Tommy Robinson or Nigel Farage were not here. That's why when someone attacks Nigel Farage or anyone who's a popular figure on the right, they never get prosecuted for it. And this is why. But a man who's just going out because he's concerned for his kids' future, his grandchildren's future, is prosecuted just because he doesn't like the establishment and he says anti-establishment rhetoric. And this is where we're at. And it's only going to get worse. So please get involved. I've been to America, right? And I have a good feeling because I have gone to America quite a few times. I've never met a more patriotic bunch of people in all my life. I wish we had that over here. I wish we had that, you know, in the conservative kind of right-wing movement. I wish we had that, but I do believe this is the beginning of a big fight back, and this is why the socialists are scared, trying to kill Trump. This is why, you know, Keir Starmer is the most unpopular prime minister since Liz Truss. It says it all. But anyway, I'll pass it to Paul Rimmer.
Let's be realistic here. The people who rule over us, the elite and the deep state, we're not talking about people here with a different political ideology, a different set of beliefs, because their beliefs, they don't believe in anything. They only believe in their own empowerment. What we're talking about is a criminal class. We're talking about, as I said earlier, a racket. People who are screwing the system, screwing the taxpayers, abusing the democratic process to enrich themselves and empower themselves against the people. And that's why Trump is such a danger to them, because a lot of these people have got crimes the length of your arms, criminal endeavors. I mean, we've got this whole Epstein saga, haven't we? The little island where they used to go to. Trump has said he will empower people like Vivek Ramaswamy, people like Bobby Kennedy. He will empower these people to go and find the truth, what these people were really up to. He'll go and expose those who are exploiting the system to enrich themselves. And the people who control the CIA, the FBI, and the other agencies, they've acted in corrupt ways against the interest of the American people. They're in danger, these people. And Trump has said also he'll tell the truth about JFK, who really killed JFK, what was the real motive behind it, and other hit jobs. And of course, as we've already mentioned, the hit job on Trump was almost certainly a deep state operation. Now, I'd love Trump to go even further and say this: I'm going to expose what happened on 9/11. Who were the real culprits in 9/11? Why 9/11 was allowed to happen? It's deep and it's dirty. And if Trump is going to expose these people don't want Trump anywhere near the White House, the Oval Office, because they have got a lot of dirt and a lot of blood on their hands and a lot of filthy money. And also the Ukraine, the business in the Ukraine. If Trump is going to go for these people, they're in incredible danger, and they know it. And at the moment, they have enormous power. At the moment, they thought they could use the power. I mean, as I say, they've had so many different strategies to stop Trump. You know, they've had the lawfare strategy. They've had the attempted assassination. They've used the media, as John has said, to denigrate and demonize Trump at every turn. They've tried to take him down from within the Republican Party. You know, people like this Liz Cheney and the guy Ron DeSantis and so many. They found allies with, Mike Pence. They've driven Trump from office once before. Don't forget in 2020 when he easily won that election, if the truth be known. They abused that election, but Trump was naive at the time. But there's another scandal which Trump is going to expose, which is going to hurt a lot of people, and which actually could be crippling for a lot of people, and that's COVID. COVID. Who was behind this mass vaccination program? Why were they allowed to accumulate so much money? That's a racket again, isn't there? Whoa, there could be a lot of court cases over that. If Trump is really going to make the system honest and transparent again and get rid of this deep state corruption, imagine the enemies he's got out there. And, the man, he's got balls of steel, let's be honest. His courage has no limits. He has taken on the most powerful people in the world. And so far, and it's miraculous. I mean, Trump says, God is with me. So far, he's been successful. He's come back. He's like a heavyweight boxer. He's like when Mike Tyson Fury went down. When Deontay Wilder hit him, I think it was the 11th round, and he was out cold on the floor. And he got up again, didn't he? Got a draw against Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. I mean, Trump's in 2020, he was effectively knocked out. I didn't think Trump would come back in 2020. I mean, that was such a crippling blow. And I knew then that the Democrats would have control of the deep state and would use the deep state to destroy Trump. And I thought nobody can stand against the American deep state. Nobody. And yet, Trump has not only stood, at the moment, he's winning. And he's winning because this MAGA movement is much more powerful than people realize. I mean, Mark just talked about the patriotic angle, but the MAGA movement is a Christian movement. It's got the Holy Spirit there. It's got this indomitable spirit which comes from God. And they say, like, you can beat anyone and you can destroy anyone, but you can't beat a Christian, because a Christian will never surrender. He'll never give up his faith. If your faith is in Jesus Christ, no one can take that away from you. That's why Christians went to the lines. They went to the cross. They were martyred for their faith, but they never gave up their faith. You can't steal someone's faith. They tried to bully them and intimidate them. And this, I mean, John mentioned it before about Kamala Harris or Marcus being anti-Christian and saying at the rally that, Jesus Christ is Lord, is he? You're in the wrong rally. She's not a Christian. And she never went to that Catholic dinner either. And she's got no faith in it. It's obvious. To be honest, that woman, to me, looks on the point of a nervous breakdown every time I see her. I know she's got alcohol problems. She's got no inner strength because she's got no faith. Maybe this is Trump's secret. His faith has carried him. I mean, people have always said, Donald Trump's not a real Christian. Donald Trump says Jesus Christ is Lord. He loves to be prayed for. He acknowledges God. It's a strength that he draws on. It's a foundation that he stands on. And this is proven powerful, because the MAGA movement, don't forget, after 2020 and the way they sort of weaponized January the 6th and started putting the MAGA movement leaders in prison, a lot of them in prison now, the likes of Steve Bannon. And there's a lot of January the 6th in prison in America. They try to intimidate the MAGA movement, but the MAGA movement has proved very durable, very powerful, and has rekindled itself. And at the moment, it's rampant in America. There's incredible momentum behind the Trump campaign. And this is why he's shoe-in so far. I mean, it's going to be the next 9 days are going to be incredible in America. People have already started voting. As I say, 15 million people have voted already. So we're in the middle of the election now. But we could, I think, see a Trump victory. It would be incredible. It would be incredible. And then we're going to have to ask the question, what are the consequences of a Trump victory? John?
Marcus, you mentioned about America before. I don't know where you went to, but the area where you went to, what are they like? Are they Christians, you know, like...
Yes, everyone I met, I admittedly went to New Mexico, and that is a lovely place. A lot of people will know that from, like, Breaking Bad or... You know, the movie Pool is basically, you know, desert, kind of somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But it is a lovely feeling. They do have a very big community kind of feel. You know, they are all pro-firearm. Admittedly, people may or may not know this, I was with a Native American woman at the time. So I spent some time on the reservation. All Christians, all healthy families, you know, none of them were pro-abortion. All of them had a community feel. You know, everyone went to church, by the way. I didn't meet one liberal when I was in Albuquerque. I admit that. I met no liberals. Everyone, no matter what race they were all packing, you know, and carrying something beside them, you know, to protect themselves. And it was a completely different way of life into what we have over here, you know. Things like abortion would not be acceptable to them. Like, I didn't have a conversation about it, but they all were Christians, so it wouldn't be allowed within their community. Something I will say about the Native American community, and I am very biased and everything, but I love the kind of, you know, what's the right word? I love the way they look out for each other, and they're so family orientated. You know, they have big families, a bit like how we used to be up until probably about 40, 50 years ago. Yeah. I would say the general feeling over there is we look out for our own, you know, we put our own first. And that's the feeling I got when I was in America, you know. And also, they were very nice to me because they knew they could tell I was British, and they loved the British, you know. They talk about the royal family. They're quite disappointed in the British people for what we've let the country become, to be quite honest. They think we need to stand up. Many of them said to me, you know, vote for Nigel Farage, vote for UKIP, or they would say vote for that kind of party. And they were discussed with our politicians, you know, the fact that gay marriage was legalized under the Conservative Party, of all things, and everything. You know, that's just really unacceptable for a Conservative Party to do that. Also, they were shocked that, you know, abortion was illegal. I had many conversations with different Americans who just couldn't believe how far Britain has fallen, because they have always seen us as a strong nation that they kind of look to. You know, and they have much respect. They think that the average Brit is very pro, you know, the royal family. They all think that we wear posh suits and everything. And we have become a very degenerate society where on every street corner, you know, drugs are normalized, you know, things that wouldn't have been acceptable about 20 years ago are now normalized. And they were shocked when I was telling them about the drag queen story hour, because it just would never happen where they were at. They just wouldn't allow it. You know, the libraries wouldn't allow it. And that, why I say all this and why people should care, because that's actually a healthy society, is it not? That's how society should be. We should be looking out for each other, you know. Transgender people going into school should not be normalized whatsoever. You know, the Christian school I went to when I was younger, are now teaching LGBT stuff. And that's meant to be a Christian school. That should never be happening. And that's just how far we are falling. And the Americans were completely shocked. You know, they were like, don't go back there, stay over here with us. You know, you'll have a better way of life and everything.
When did you actually go, Marcus? When did you go?
I went in 2022. I went in 2023, and I went in 2023. I've been 5 times to America so far.
Yeah, I went to America in the 80s, and you know that it was even a lot even different then. Even the Democrat states were very conservative and patriotic then. But it's not Britain that's just fallen. The whole Western world has fallen under this woke spell, and it's really weakened us. And of course, it's been followed by this huge influx of immigrants, which just goes on and on. I mean, you know, our cities are being transformed out of all recognition, and the attempts to fight back are being thwarted. In a sense, Trump is in an attempt. I mean, the Democrats have had 4 horrendous years in America. I mean, I don't know how many people have come in. Certainly over 15 million have come into America from all over the world. And some of the worst people, murderers, all sorts of people have come in, as well as a lot of people who just come to work and improve their lives. But America has moved dramatically in the woke direction. And of course, they've driven prayers and the Christian sort of witness out of American schools a long time ago, the state sector. That's been lost. And the church is under threat in America. It's weaker now. I mean, there is, and this is the thing. In America, it's because the states. There's 50 states, obviously, and the Republican states, the red states, as they're called. These are the heartland of traditional values. Now, there's a lot of the blue states. I mean, Pennsylvania is where it's all contested, where these traditional values, the people are not letting them go very easily. But we've got to fight back. We can't allow this woke virus. And this is why Elon Musk, again, is so crucial. He's given us a platform, and he's given us leadership now to fight back against this woke agenda. And Trump, if Trump wins, the momentum in that fight back will really pick up again, I think, in Europe as well, and in this country. I think Starmer at the moment, he's watching America. If Kamala Harris was to win, Labour would go rampant. They would push the whole woke agenda down our throat. To be sort of male heterosexual might be very dangerous in Britain in the future if Kamala Harris was to win. So we fight for traditional Christian values. Now, if the West goes down this woke road, as I said early on in this stream, it's the path to destruction. It's a path to permanent decline and ultimately defeat. Because the rest of the world, the Islamic world, Black Africa, the Hindu world, China, Russia, the Orthodox world, they won't accept this. They know it's anti-life. They know it's degenerate. They know it's satanic. It's about destroying people's lives, destroying the family, stopping new children being born. We need an increase in the birth rate. This is the point. It's everything the left stands for now is saturated in the spirit of death. It's death. It's sterile. It's decline. The right is the hope now. I mean, John talked earlier about the left now. It's like they flipped everything. The left are the authoritarians now. The left are the no-sayers now. The left are like the establishment, which is stamping down on vitality in the nation. And it's the Republicans, it's the right that still offer this. And that's why this battle, it's really between good and evil. It's that clear. And the left has embraced evil with enthusiasm. I mean, the way they talk about the murder of unborn or preborn children, the enthusiasm they have to kill off children is just incredible. I mean, I remember when they legalized abortion in Northern Ireland, the people who stood against it said, look, we don't kill children in Northern Ireland. They said, oh, you're not going to kill children, just women's health issues. Since abortion has been legalized in Northern Ireland, 8,000 children have been killed in Northern Ireland, murdered. And this is going to impact the birth rate in Northern Ireland. And now they're bringing in the people from the Indian subcontinent. They're bringing in the third world immigrants into Northern Ireland. This is what it's all about. Population change, demographic change, replacement, the destruction of the nation. The wars are about destruction of nations, whether it be Russia or the Ukraine, any healthy nation. Mass immigration is about the destruction of nations. And of course, only one nation is going to survive all this. We know which one that is. And so, it's their international plot to destroy us. And we've got to resist that. We can't be passive in this. We've got to educate ourselves. We've got to be, as Marcus said earlier, we've got to be engaged in political movements. How is the Reform Party doing, Marcus?
I think it's doing excellent. I think we're growing strength to strength, and I think we will do. I look forward to these elections to show the establishment what we're actually made of. I'm actually going to be running in Crome Ward in Norwich, so Heartsease, where I actually grew up. I wanted to stand in a place where I actually know and it actually means something to me. So yeah, we're going brilliantly. The membership has never been higher. We just keep on going strength to strength, like I said. I think we resonate with majority of the public, and the weirdos who don't resonate with us, I wouldn't want their vote anyway, to be quite honest. They can keep their vote and send it to the Labour Party. I think Reform has a bright future, and I think we need more and more people to stand up in Reform. I realise Reform, and some people watching this won't be pro-Reform. They don't like what they've said about Tommy Robinson. There is some people who dislike Reform. I understand that. But there is only one real option in this country. And what I would say is I like the fact that Reform speaks to the younger generation, because people my age don't feel like we really want to get involved in politics. But Reform has changed that for me. And going to a more direct democracy system, I think giving the power to the people in this country will solve the problems in this country by having referendums on things like abortion, for example. So the people actually genuinely get a say, or if the people want to have a referendum on something, they should be able to do so, because it's their tax money what makes this country run, and the working man and women in this country should actually have a say, and we should be having a proper democracy. So I look forward to the future. I feel positive. That's why I put myself forward, I guess. I never thought I'd be standing for local election, and hopefully I could stand in the future to be an MP. I really don't know, but let's see. What's your feeling on Reform, Paul and John? What's your general
Well, the
feeling?
National Housing Party, we stand for no more refugees. I mean, Reform is still beating about the bush. I mean, they say they want to stop the boats, but we want to stop all refugees. We've taken enough. We want to leave the European Convention of Human Rights. We want to leave the UN Convention of 1951, Refugee Convention. We want to take back sovereignty in this country, and we're prepared to fight for that. And I hope that I wish that Reform had that same fighting zeal that we have. Also, there's another big flaw in Reform is that they are still plugged into cancel culture, and everyone's got to be vetted. They've got to, anyone who's been involved with patriotic movement in the past, they seem to want to poo-poo. So, I mean, Reform, yeah, at the moment, they're like a right-wing Conservative party. Now, the danger for Reform is Robert Jenrick wins the Conservative leadership and turns the Conservatives into a Thatcherite party again, and he'll steal the Reform's clothes if he does that. But we do need a voice which is going to speak the total truth. That Reform still wants to stay within obviously the mainstream media, which is very controlled, and we need a voice which speaks the truth, that we've no more refugees, no more mass immigration for permanent settlement, and we've got to really be strong on these issues and offer the British people a real alternative. John?
Well, everyone knows my thing on Reform. I agree with what Paul said, cancel culture and that they are Tories, but the fact that they're running and getting votes is good for everybody. It's good for every other party. It's good for the National Housing Party. It's good for independents. It's good for any other small party or anything like that. It's good for us. And I showed that, as in Oldham, how many votes Labour lost through Reform and the Workers' Party. So I'm glad, I know they will get local council seats. And I mean, me and Pat talked. We want to run local council seats first. I get it with Reform. They already had MPs, so yeah, they could. But now they are going to focus on local elections. That's what a couple of the heads have told me, and that's what I got told at the Reform conference in Birmingham. So that'll be great. They'll take more votes off Conservatives. I think Conservatives, unless if he does turn it into a Thatcher-like party, he might get some support. But I think this is the end of the Conservatives, to tell you the truth. And then
I generally think so. Yeah.
But the next big party to go will be the Labour Party. They're falling at the park from inside. It's not even outside; it's inside that they're falling apart from, guys. It's not us on the outside. They're ripping themselves from the inside, and that's just going to end up bad for them. Yeah. But anyway, we've come to the end of our hour. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Please subscribe to us. I put the link to the National Housing Party website up. I'll do that again.
Trump, USA. USA.
I've got a little surprise, actually. I've got a little surprise. Oh, yeah, honestly.
About to finish then, John. It was about to finish. The land of the free and the home of the brave. I was just going to join in. The land of the free and the home of the brave. See you next week, guys. Take care.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was a good stream.